Welcome to this new video. This time we are going to continue on our series on Metasploit. And if you watched the first video, you remember that it was a foundational video where we went over what Metasploit is, who supports Metasploit, and we went over basic key terms that you gotta keep in mind when working within the Metasploit framework. Now, in this video, it still is a foundational video. So if you're looking for something highly technical, this is not the video for that. We're still building our foundation. So I'm gonna call this Metasploit Foundation 101.2, right? Because we're going to stay here for some time. And right here, I want to go over the concepts of modules because that's how you're going to be using Metasploit, or let me put it in a different way. It's not that you're going to be using Metasploit through modules, even though that's right. But let me put it in a different way that is going to be easier to understand. Metasploit is broken down or compartmentalized into different modules, right? And maybe not even the word compartmentalized applies here because it is part of a whole, but it is classified like the functions that you're going to carry out in Metasploit are categorized in what is known as modules. Let's put it that way. That makes a lot of sense. And modules are software that the Metasploit framework can use to perform specific tasks. And that's why they are categorized in different sections and grouped together for the specific tasks that you want to carry out. So if you've noticed right here, as soon as you connect to the to Metasploit, you're gonna see that the first screen is gonna display the module information. So you're gonna see that we have the exploit modules, which has over 2,000 exploits. We have the auxiliary module that has over 1,000 uh, entries. We have posts. We have payloads. So each of these is a different category, and within them, you can find even subcategories. But it's not broken down into that, it's just broken down into modules. So let's go over this for 1 second. So let's try to explain this one more time in a way that is going to make sense to anyone. Let's talk about the exploit modules. Right? So we have exploits right here. So remember that an exploit is a code, is a piece of software that takes advantage of a vulnerability. So when you're looking for exploits, you can see all of them by doing a show command, right? And show exploits, and that's going to display all the exploits that this version of Metasploit has. And let me just take a quick break right here. Something that I didn't mention before is that you can type a lot of commands in the Metasploit console, and if you want to see a list of commands available to you in this context, you can type help, and that's going to break the commands down for you in different categories. For instance, you're going to have the core commands, right? And this is the one that you can type if you want to change the banner. Hey, you're not going to be able uh, to hack into anything by using the banner command, but it's entertaining, looking at the banners. You can change the color, you can change the directory. So they're self-explanatory. You can use the history command, the loads, the framework logins, the plugins, I should say. And then if you scroll down, you're going to have the module commands, right? And these are the commands you're going to use when interacting with the different modules. If you want to display advanced favorites info, like you can go through this. And obviously one of the most um, useful commands, or one of the most used command, I should say, is the use command. And that's how you select um, a specific item in a module, right? If you want to select an exploit, you use the use command. And then once you have that job running that session, you have the job commands, and these are the commands you can use to interact with Metasploit. And then you have others here for resource script commands, and then you have the database commands. And we're going to be talking about databases maybe in the next video. You have the credentials to see all the credentials that you see in the database, and you have developer commands. So I just wanted to bring that as an aside because you have many commands that you can use right from here. So the exploits are, what the word entails, and we went over that before. So that module is going to have all the exploits that you're going to be able to use in Metasploit. And remember that an exploit is just a piece of software that is going to take advantage of a vulnerability in a system, right? So the other, let me just do this here so we can have them all again. Then we have the payloads, right? This is another one that is hardly used. So let me put that in here. And remember, modules, think of modules like categories, right? And within those categories, you're going to have other options. So just keep that in mind. Don't get confused by this. It's not that complicated. So the payloads, we talked about that before, is the code that will run on the target machines, and it's going to take advantage of the vulnerabilities. And then we have the post, and that reminds me of that boot up process. The BIOS, the post. I remember that from way back in the days when I was learning computers, like a million years ago. Uh, and back then, POST stand for Power on Self Test. I believe that's what it stands for. But this is not the same POST. I'm sorry, I got of course right here. The POST are the categories of options of modules that you're going to have after the post exploitation action that is going to take place on a system. Like, you do the once the exploit and the payload happens, you're going to have access to a system. And once you're there, what are you going to do, right? If you want to dump the password hashes, so that's an example of that. So let's see right here, show posts, and these are many of the options or many of the things you can do once you look, enumerate shares, enumerate SMTP, enumerate domain users group. So that's what you will do after, and those categories are in the post module. Then we have auxiliary, and what that is, those are modules for actions that extend or complement the exploit and don't give you a shell, right? So let's just find a couple of them right here. So if you see this right here, these are complementary things that you're gonna do once you take control of the system. And a lot of it, if you see the subcategories right here, are related to spoofing, or if you would like to maybe do a network scan or crawling or do some fuzzing, you can see that in here. So those are other things that you can do once you have gained access to the system, and you can use them with your payloads or posts. So as you can see them right here. Then the other options that we have is, let me come here. We have the encoders, right? And we have a total of 46 encoders right here. And what the encoders are, I'm trying to explain this without sounding confusing. The encoding is gonna script, I mean, it's going to encrypt or obfuscate a payload, right? So the purpose of the encoder is to avoid signature based antivirus and signature based security solutions that are scanning for a specific malicious signature. And you have different type of encoders, and the cool thing about this is that they're ranked by efficiency, by how good they are. So as you could see, you can use a PowerShell based 64 encoder, which is rated as excellent, or you could use Brace, which is a bash brace expansion command encoder, which is pretty low. So most likely it's gonna get detected. So for this to be effective, you have to experiment and you have to try different things. You have the base 64 running on Ruby right here. That's very popular too. And the Shikata. I don't even know how to pronounce that. I believe that's correct. Shikata GA9. It's a good encoder too that you can use in your system. Then we have the what else do we have here? Let's see. Oh, we have the NUPs. And what the NUPs do, they're modules to generate no operation instruction. Sounds complicated, right? They're often used to fill in memory room, right? Let's say that you're creating an exploit and you are taking over memory space, and that doesn't fill up that memory space. So you can use the naps for that. So that's what the naps do. To be honest with you, I've only used it once in a test environment. So I don't have much experience with that. So you're going to have to forgive me about that. But that's what they're for. And the last one is evasions. And as the name imply, that's for you to evade systems or that could detect your connections as malicious. And here you have them. So we're going to concentrate on the exploit payloads on aux and encoders. That's what we're going to be using mostly for these videos that I'm creating, but they're all important to know. So let's do a quick refreshment of what we've covered so far. So in the first video, we talked about what Metasploit is. It is a tool that is used by hackers, but it's not necessarily a hacking tool. You could use this tool to test your system to make them stronger, right? So, and not everything within the Metasploit framework is designed for hacking. You can do a lot of other things like network scanning, for instance. There's no hacking in there. And it is an open source project that it is maintained by Rapid 7 or are the creators of that, and they do have a commercial version. We talked about the key terms to remember in the last video, exploit vulnerability payloads. And on this video, we talked about what modules are, which are basically categories within Metasploit, categories of different tasks and different functions that you can carry, and then they are categorized in these separate functions right in here. We also talked about that as soon as you log in to Metasploit or you connect to it, I should say, you're going to be able to use many commands. And if you type help, you're going to have a list of commands that are going to come handy as we keep advancing in Metasploit. And the commands are categorized by section. As you can see here, we have the core commands, we have module commands that we're going to be using a lot of things when we start working with modules. We have job commands, resources, and databases. So I am going to stop here because I got to the 15 minutes video goal of me of creating this video. Now, if you found this information useful, all I ask is for you to click on the like button, subscribe to my channel, and leave a nice comment. If you don't think this information is useful to you, it's totally fine. Just don't leave any bad comments. There's no point for that. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But anyway, I hope this information was useful to you, and I will talk to you on the next video.